Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Static Shift, Resonant Frequency. You are hanging out with me. I'm Rob Sogomonian, one of the founding members of Articulate Studios. I am joined today by, once again, Aaron Sokalski, Jason Tibor, Tiffany Magnuson, and we have a newcomer this week, Miss Jennifer Kellams. Everybody, do you guys want to kind of go down the line and just reintroduce yourselves for those of our listeners who may have missed the first episode? Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Let's start with you, ladies first. Tiffany or Jennifer? Jennifer, you're the newcomer. Why don't you start us?
Oh, gosh. So I have been a voiceover artist for probably 5 years, but 3 years professionally, like on my own business. I've dubbed myself the VO Fairy Godmother, so I focus a lot on kid-friendly work and, whatever else comes my way. I love work like this as well. So, and I'm also a speech pathologist in the daytime.
That's fantastic. Speech pathologist. That's pretty wild. Maybe you can tell me why I keep over-enunciating everything at some point. Tiffany, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I've been a freelance voice actor for about three plus years. Although I've done voice acting since the 90s. I did IVR systems for phone systems across the Pacific Northwest. So if you were in the Pacific Northwest at that time and calling some places, you probably heard my voice. But yeah, so I do all kinds of stuff. Character work is a lot of fun for me, but typically I get my bread and butter off audiobooks, which also has a lot of character work in it too. So yeah.
Love it. You get to play around with the characters in those audiobooks. Aaron, let's continue to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Aaron Sokalski, and I am wrapping up year 2 of ProVO, and still doing still going hard at it. Character work's my thing, and I do a lot of sound editing, including more recently demo creation. Go figure. So that's my story.
Fantastic. I've heard some of your... Oh, sorry.
And I'm also Florida man. Florida man.
Heard some of your demos, and they are fantastic. And we're going to be getting to some other stuff that you've edited probably in another couple of episodes here on Resonant Frequency. Jason, last but not least, our showrunner. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. It's a soggy day here in the southern part of the Pacific Northwest.
I love it. And you and Tiffany are actually both up in Oregon, right?
We are, yes.
I'd love that.
Yeah. She's got the northern part of the state handled, and then I've got the California border here. So everything's
fantastic.
Good. Yep.
And then I'm just a little bit south of you guys in the San Francisco Bay Area.
I
wanted to get... Oh, sorry.
And then I run it down to the very end, in the SoCal area.
100%. I love it. And Aaron is our East Coast Florida man, so we love that. I wanted to get the conversation started today just by kind of... Jason, I've introduced Static Shift to a lot of people locally, at least asked them, hey, are you going to go and listen to our new audio drama? And a lot of them have said, I don't really have very much time to listen to something like that. I'm probably going to, wait till I have a long drive coming up, or I've got to do a bunch of yard work, so it's going to take me a couple hours, and then I'll listen to your audio drama. I just want to clarify, audio dramas are not audio books, are they? They're not necessarily long form. I imagine they can be, but would you maybe give us a little bit of an explanation of what an audio drama is?
Well, I think to understand kind of what audio dramas are today, there's a couple things you want to look at. And the first one, if you look back in time to the pre-television days, radio was the form of mass entertainment and communication. So there would be the radio dramas, radio plays, and there were series that were incredibly popular. Dick Tracy and Little Orphan Annie, as we saw in A Christmas Story. And then as television came along and kind of took things over, those were sort of phased out. But what we have today is a combination of taking that spirit and then combining that with podcasting, essentially. So what exists today is, I think, an incredibly exciting world where you can really employ the theater of the mind to tell some amazing, incredible stories that would honestly be really difficult to tell in a visual medium. But when you've got really good audio production and people who understand the psychology behind sound and how it works and how it makes us feel, you can create a really engrossing, engaging experience using sound effects and Foley and actors, really a full production that it's the kind of thing when you close your eyes, it's like the movie is happening in your mind. And that's what audio dramas are. Now, as we see with, I guess you could say, traditional podcasts, they can be 3 minutes long, they can be several hours long. And, and that's a break from the traditional broadcast model because the broadcasters had to adhere to a schedule. They had to air the same programming at the same time every day and so on and so forth. And there were advertiser conditions and concerns that had to be dealt with. That's how we got movies of approximately 90 minutes to 2 hours on average, the half hour, 1 hour, and 2 hour blocks on television. So now, once you go away from those broadcast constraints, you can make things as long or as short as you want to. And you're seeing that spill over a little bit too into as television has moved from broadcast to primarily streaming. And you've got within a single series, you can have episodes that, some might run 42 minutes and others are well over an hour. And that's becoming common. So the very short version is it's like a television show for your mind.
I love that description of it. That's a great way to kind of put it. Now, none of the episodes that we have produced yet have gone over the 20-minute mark. Most of ours are kind of short snippets. Do you think that maybe in the future, and it would be a lot of work, so I know that it's probably not top of your list, but maybe we would have an audio drama episode. And actually, a lot of the audio dramas that I've listened to just on my own, most of them are kind of right around that 20-minute mark. They might be 25 minutes, they might be 15 minutes. So it kind of seems like, especially for episodic content like this or mystery kind of content like this, a lot of them tend to be a little bit more short form than, let's say, an audiobook, which is 12 plus hours, 10 to 12 plus hours. Would you say that based on your experience, that's pretty accurate?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that all bears out in what I've seen.
And if you think about it, if you watch a sitcom on TV and it's a 30-minute sitcom, once you take out ads and stuff, or as we're watching ad-free TV on streaming, they're really only 20 minutes also. So
Yeah, 18 to 20 minutes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So we're more like a TV show then. Maybe kind of sitcom format more than, I mean, we're not, ours isn't that funny, but that same kind of like 30-minute time slot-ish is kind of what we're going for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it's an interesting thing that this is really a reflection of the progression and evolution of the whole idea behind static shift. I think, initially when it was still just going to be these little anthology segments, I thought, yeah, 8 to 12 minutes per episode. That sounds pretty good. But then things evolved and they continue to evolve.
I love it. I did want to point out we are actually missing one of the cast members from episode 2, Number Station, and that is our very own, also founding member, Marcus Roberts. Unfortunately, Marcus has had some health issues personally, and so he can't join us tonight. But he did contribute to a number of our early episodes, and we wish him well, and we hope that he recovers from kind of what he's going through right now. I'm not going to get into details on that, but I just wanted to point that out there. He is also a listed cast member on this episode. He did a fantastic job. He's a wonderful guy. And
so talented, so many voices. He can do so
gosh.
many different voices. It's so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we miss him.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, we do, and I just felt like it would be remiss if we didn't mention, how much we appreciate him and what he contributed to Articulate as a studio.
Did we also mention that Jennifer's a founding member of Articulate? I want to make sure that we do. I'm not sure that we did.
Absolutely.
Okay,
everybody
good.
here tonight.
Maybe
so
I missed
thank you,
it.
Tiffany. No, I might have not said it. Yes, everybody here tonight is a founding member, and I think I said it in the first episode last week. I said we're going to have another founding member join us next week, so I might have just spaced on saying it this time. But yes, Jennifer Kellams is another one of our founding members. So we've got 5. We would have had 6 of the 8 founding members of Articulate here so far on the podcast. So Number Station. It's a fun little episode, and since Jen and I are really the only 2 who were in the episode that are here tonight, I think I'm going to just kind of ask Jen a couple of questions, and Aaron and Tiffany and Jason, I know Jason obviously is in it too as the DJ.
And the
Feel free to-
writer.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's just the DJ.
Never.
He did nothing else.
No, he doesn't do anything. He just sits around and looks cool. That's what he does. That's
Lies.
Jason's job. No, but he's the showrunner. He's the writer, producer, director of most of the episodes. We have a couple of guest episodes that have been and are being produced, but the entire original idea was Jason's. And you guys feel free to jump in if you have anything to add to the conversation, but I think I'm just going to focus kind of on Jen at the moment, and let's start off with the elephant in the room that we were just talking about before we got started, the Frankie say, calm down, or whatever it is. That line always stood out to me as being strange. Just, that's my take. I've never heard anything like that. I know Jason says it comes from a shirt. So maybe between you and Jason, you can explain to me what that even means, because I've never heard of it until this episode.
So, yeah, in the 80s, which, I mean, this takes place in the 80s, there was like this T-shirt, and it said, well, I'll get to this, but in my brain, it said, Frankie says relax. It's even in like The Wedding Singer. I think somebody wears this shirt. And is it from that band that does like the song Relax, and it comes from that, like Frankie Goes to Hollywood?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's them.
So I had this line, and I see, Frankie says relax. And I said it, and then Jason goes, okay, that was great. But when you do your retakes, could you say it the way it's supposed to be said? And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So I did 5 more takes, and I'm like emphasizing relax, because like that's how you say it. And he's like, okay, cool. That's not how you say it at all. So he sends me a screenshot of the T-shirt, and he's like emphasizes the fact there's no S on says, and I'm like, what? I am 2 years old, and I've always thought that it was Frankie says relax, and it's not.
We did talk a little bit about how a lot of us look younger than we actually are on the last episode. So most of us are years old also, which is great. Maybe Jason in post can make that a little digital artifacting sound. Just kidding, because I'm the one who produces this podcast. But I'll see if I can find something like that. That would be fun.
22.
Ooh. Anyway, that's the wrong song, but it's fine. It'll work. This episode is really cool. I love the sound design in it. So Jason, props on that. I remember doing the initial recording, kind of getting to the beginning of the episode where we were pretending there's a window open and me being like, close the window, right? Like, and I was like, this is probably going to sound okay. And then it sounds awesome. Like when the window actually closes, and then the kind of sarcasm between us where you're like, oh yeah, by the way, I think the window is open. And I'm like, what? This was a fun role to play. What was your highlight from the episode, Jen? What was your kind of favorite? Was it the Frankie says relax, or was there's a lot of really cool little spots in this episode. So what was a highlight for you?
No, I agree. Like when I was listening back, there was this like I got to get into like my nerdy zone and stuff, but I agree, like the window and the banter and the like, hey, close the window. Oh, hey, by the way, did you know the window's open? Like, oh man, I was laughing out loud for that.
It was a lot. Yeah, that was great. And then I liked being a ham operator. Like I just thought that and actually Jason and I had a retake, and it came 8 months after the initial recording. How long ago was it? Like we did the initial recording, and Jason came to me. He's like, "Hey, can you do a real quick pickup for me?" And I was like, "Sure." Jason?
Oh, what was that again?
It was the bit where you're like, I don't really like how he says nerds or something at the end. There's a sentence where I say they don't even know how to like operate a ham radio, assholes.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, and I think the original line was nerds. And I think I just wanted it with a little more oomph behind it, a little more venom. And then, so Rob, you ad-libbed the epithet at the end, the assholes, and it was perfect. The ad-lib was perfect, but the line delivery was perfect, and that was something I didn't even know I wanted a little different version of that until I was pretty deep into the editing process. Because it was like I was going along and it was very smooth and everything was going, and then there's just a little bit of a bump or just a little something missing there. So that was a lot of fun to go from listening to that and knowing, and I could hear you in my head saying this line exactly like this, and I knew it would fit perfectly. So then I get it back from you, and it's even better than what I wanted because you had this great ad lib on there. So that really, I don't know, that kind of creativity and collaboration, it just lifts the whole thing up just a little bit more. And that's fun when I can literally just drop the new one in and then go back and play the scene, and it's perfect. That little spot was just buffed out, and now it's totally shiny.
I like to put a lot of elbow grease into my voiceover. It's kind of weird. I don't know how that works.
I
don't know how that works either.
I hear elbow grease is really good for the vocal tract. It's fine.
Well, maybe that's it.
I'm a professional.
All right, I'm going to keep it PC and clean on this podcast, but everybody here knows that I like to make some off-color jokes from time to time.
Aside from the PG-13 rating of a-holes, used earlier.
Hey, you could get away with one or two swear words.
PG-13 podcast, kids.
Plus, it's in the episode. It's in the episode, everybody, so I'm okay. I'm covered. One of the fascinating things about this particular kind of episode, the way that this kind of came together, was we tend to... Well, now that we have, like, we're doing this podcast via Riverside, which is a really cool podcasting platform. I'm sure that if you listen to podcasts, you've heard about it because everybody keeps talking about it. We recorded the first episode, this episode, and I think did we record Sally in Riverside, or did we record that one in?
Separate.
We did the old style, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the way that we've been doing all of our recordings is we would just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then everybody claps so that we have a nice vertical line as to where we're going to start the editing process. And then we'd record the episode, and then we'd clap at the end so that we'd have like a sync line. That's a lot of fun. And we're all on Zoom, and we're all recording it on our own local systems and then uploading, 6 different files to Jason, or in this case, I guess 4, because he had his and then our 3. And then he has to go through and cut them up and make everything fit. They're more or less all around the same time, so it's probably not very much different than just recording through a platform like this that records everything and just syncs it all for us. But there's still a little bit of kind of finagling going on in there. And it's always fun when we have the group together and somebody like Marcus is in there and he's trying different things and Jennifer's trying different things and I'm trying different things. I just think it's always a blast to get together and put something like that together. Aaron, Tiffany, I know we've done a lot together as well. What are your guys' feelings on that?
Group reads are always so much more fun, right? And more dynamic, right? Because you get to feed off of the other people. And I think that's interesting for people to know is that we do record these together. Like we are live together doing these recordings. It's not just like, okay, here's your lines in the script. Go ahead and record them, send them back to Jason to get them produced and all that kind of stuff. You lose a little bit of personality when you do it that way. Not that it can't be great because tons of other, audio dramas and other things are done that way, which is wonderful and they turn out beautiful. But there's just something about working together live that I really enjoy.
Yeah, there's definitely times that I would say things one way in my head and then I hear you or Aaron say something or Rob say something and then I'm like, oh, well, now I'm not, I wouldn't say it that way because now I'm responding to this, not that.
Oh, is it
What
my
do you
turn?
think, Aaron? Yeah, it's your turn.
More often than not, depending upon the script, scenario, whatever, I think we are better actors, performers, and especially reactors when we have the opportunity to bounce off of each other. Now, that's not always the case because, as Jason and I know as editors, you can create some really groundbreaking moments with your script in editing. Like if you, especially when it comes to cutoff, and we talked about this the other night, cutting each other off. When someone interrupts another person to either yell or make a point, and you have that ability in your editing program, and you can make it very impactful with the power of just good timing. So really, we have the best of both worlds here. But like I said, we are much better actors, performers, and reactors when we have each other to work with. And you know what? It just goes to show you what a fantastic chemistry and group dynamic we have. Because we just do.
Absolutely. I mean, we get along great.
Mm-hmm.
And we play off each other really well, which I enjoy. And I think
Except
we all
Rob. I hate that guy.
Yeah, that Jason guy. No, I'm kidding. Love you all.
Rude.
Now,
Rude.
Rude.
I hate anybody who's taller than me, which is everybody.
I'm 5'2". Got you.
Oh, that's right. Tiffany's the only person here who's shorter than I am. But that's cool. It gives me Napoleon energy. Anyway,
Main character energy.
I actually heard that was a bad thing. After you said that, I was so proud. I was like, yeah, I could be a main character. And then someone was like, no, that just means you're a narcissist. And I was like,
No.
huh? And they're like, yeah, because you think you're the main character in everybody's story. And I was like, I don't think that's how she meant it. But
I meant it in the most complimentary way.
yeah, and I'm not the main character in everybody's story. In this episode, and also we're going to get into some theory crafting here because I'm a huge nerd, and I've got a thing on my wall where I've got strings going between all the different points.
Calm down.
Anyway,
And
so
that picture of Jason on your wall?
what was that? No,
That picture of Jason on your wall?
yes, exactly. The picture of Jason. I've got all.
He took a screenshot from Zoom and he blew it up, and it's on his wall.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's I'm strange. Anyway, we have in 2 instances now a character disappearing from the immediate vicinity of the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to go hand in hand with some kind of device. It seems like the device is maybe doing something with radio waves or radio signals. At least the one in episode 2, they build almost like a ham device. Is what it sounds like they're building, something that maybe is a stronger ham style radio. In the first, we don't really know what they activated or if they even activated it. It just kind of turned on its own. If you believe Aaron's character, it's saying I didn't touch it. I don't know. Or are the other 2 people in the scene the ones who actually got transported, and the ones who disappeared are actually still in the same place where they were? I have been kind of theory crafting that and wondering, because it's like Marcus's character and my character in episode 2, they have blood coming out of their ears. I mean, It's not a pretty sight listening to
Yeah, it's
the
not good.
dialogue. In the first episode, Aaron's character and my character are running through a hallway that is now populated with debris and chairs and desks and other stuff. So I actually have the theory that the characters we stay with are the ones who got transported. I don't know if Jason wants to comment on that at all, or if I'm just being a conspiracy theorist, which is possible, but it's a cool thing to think about.
I think my response to that would be who got transported and to where is mostly a matter of perspective.
You would say something like that.
Absolutely, I would.
Anyway, I just think it's a really cool kind of way to think about those episodes, because you just assume that the other ones got yeeted away to wherever they went. But
I want to hope that Jamie didn't die. Like, I would be the first character that died in the series.
I didn't say die. I just said got transported.
Well, yeah, but yes. So I hope she comes back at some point.
I've got another theory that I can't bring up because we haven't been introduced to another character in the series yet. I have a feeling that Jamie is actually that character, but we'll talk about that in a future episode. Because anyway, I've got all kinds of
Although, in response to what Jason had said, this also presents an opportunity to like and subscribe, smash that like button, and stay tuned for more episodes.
Oh, God. I love that.
There it is.
And pay
We
for
know,
our
right?
Patreon.
Yes. Static
Do we have a
Shift After
Patreon
Dark.
yet?
We don't have a Patreon yet.
Give us internet money.
I'm sure we'll put a Patreon together. Sign up now for free behind-the-scenes private chats with Rob, where you get to hear all of his sick jokes. Don't do that.
And then get yelled at.
Yeah, really, don't
Yeah.
do that. He
Yeah.
wasn't joking about that.
We all yell at Rob.
I'm
But
such
no-
a good guy. What are you doing?
But no, really, stay tuned for more episodes.
Yeah.
More.
Yes.
Yeah, they get really good. I'm super excited. If you haven't gotten to our Halloween episode yet, I am like so jazzed about that episode. I cannot wait for people to hear it. And we're gonna be obviously talking about that one right after it comes out, or right around when it comes out. But I don't want to give anything away about it. It's phenomenal. I don't know if we want to talk about who did the production on that one, but it wasn't Jason. This was one of our guest episodes, and it's phenomenal.
I think we should let people guess who did it
Right.
after they've heard it.
That's a
Yeah,
great
and then,
idea.
And then we can let them know.
Yeah, we can talk about it after the episode comes out.
Yeah.
Perfect. I was just throwing it out
secrets.
there. I like secrets. But to Aaron's point, stay tuned for more. So
I did receive some feedback. I do want to touch on one thing concerning episode 2. So I've been letting some friends and family hear what's going on, and they made a good observation, and I think it's fair. So episode 1, that was the hook. You don't know what's going on. You think these kids are going to be it. They're going to be the pro tags, right? And then poof, like everything just goes awry. And then in episode 2, things start to kind of calm down a little. We have much more dialogue, much less action. But I want to remind our listeners that starting in this point in the story is the time when you really need to start paying attention. Because we're not exactly playing with pro tags here. Jason does such a magnificent job of creating themes inside themes inside themes. And the beautiful thing about this not being visual is that it's up to you to guess what the heck is going on. It's up to you to catch what's happening. And once you stop asking who and you start asking other questions, the continuity starts to kind of become apparent. And I'm trying so hard not to spoil anything.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. But again, for those who feel like, okay, well, the action's kind of died down, I'm not really, getting what's going on. It's okay.
There's more.
It's okay. Not every single sentence of every single episode is something you need to jot down in your notes. But pay attention. because dots do connect and it's okay. So, and not every episode needs to be action-packed. I mean, that's the beauty of what, my grandparents referred to as radio drama. You paint the picture in your mind. How I saw Blackwood Manor is not how Rob saw it. It's not how Tiffany saw it. And I guarantee you, it is not how Jason envisioned it.
We even talked about that in the last episode. You were talking about the Dahmer house, or
the Donnelly house in Mount Dora. Yeah, exactly. I
actually thought of a house that we have near-ish by the Winchester Mystery House, which is probably the closest thing. But that's not where my mind went because I had never been there as a kid. It's kind of like way out of the way from where I live. But for me, I was saying it's like the Weeping Angels house from Doctor Who, if you're a Doctor Who fan, or the House of Usher.
Yeah, so that's what you said. It was the House of Usher.
Yeah, we all went to different places on that, but they're all equally creepy. What did Tiffany? You said
I was going for like the Scooby-Doo mansions.
That's also creepy in its own way.
But I mean, you don't
look creepy.
You full on Scooby-Doo.
y'all as the listeners don't necessarily have to start asking who done it just yet. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I'll point out, I mean, obviously we're not a visual medium or anything like that, but there are a lot of shows where it takes a couple of episodes for things to really get rolling. The prime one that sticks out in my mind is Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you've ever watched that, it takes about 8 episodes for me to really kind of get into that show. The first 7 episodes are standard Nickelodeon kids show, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like, okay, I don't understand why everybody loves this show so much. And then you get to episode 8 and you're like, oh. And then it just, ramps up from there. Andor, for me, was the same way. I had to start watching it 3 times before I finally got to episode 3. I couldn't watch it. I watched the first episode and I was like, I don't care. I don't know who this person is. I had no character development. This is dumb. Turned it off. 6 months later, I watched episode 1 again. I was like, I still don't get it. Like, I don't know why people are telling me this is such a good show, but I'll watch the first 2 episodes. I got through the first 2 episodes and I was like, nope, still not for me. About 6 months later, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to force myself to get through at least episode 2 and 3. And then as soon as halfway through episode 3, I was like, oh, get it. So it's like, I think any new thing that you're jumping into, there's going to be a little bit of an ebb and flow. Some shows, like NBC's hit show The Blacklist, starring, anyway, I'm not going to do that. That show kind of starts off running and just keeps running, which is awesome. Some shows can do that. I don't think a lot of shows do. So if you loved episode 1, you loved episode 2, maybe you'll think episode 3 is a little bit more laid back, and stick with it. Stick with it until the 29th. October 29th is the Halloween episode. That's the one that I'm just like, ah! Anyway, and then obviously from there it's gonna, even before then it gets awesome. But
yeah, episode 3 is pretty good.
Episode 3 is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Erin does a great job in episode 3.
And it starts to plant some seeds, like reveal some things. We're pulling back some layers of the onion, so you start to notice things. So
I love it.
Yeah.
As far as this episode goes, Jennifer.
Yes, sir.
I have a tech background. So for me, I was never in the ham operators club, but I've built computers. I've built a lot of different mechanical things. So for me, when we were kind of going through that section of the episode where we were piecing it together, looking at the diagrams, and I have experience with that. I'm just curious, do you have experience with that, first of all? And then, like, how did you kind of get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm looking at a diagram. How do I act this out? What was that like for you?
Okay, my technological experience is the equivalent of turn it off and turn it back on, which I had to do before we did this.
At least you know to do that.
Yes. Beyond that, I have to go find my husband and yell and whimper and let him do nerdy things. But for this one, I'm familiar with looking at like textbooks or, technical information. I can put my IKEA furniture together. So building a ham radio as far as my lines was like, oh, okay, but I think for me, you know, my character is more talking about like, here's the story behind it, here's the mystery, and oh yeah, I'm handing you this or I'm looking at that. But I wasn't doing so much of the technical stuff. I was more just, even though like I love the fact that like Jason wrote this like very intelligent girl power character.
Mhm.
And you know, my other characters in this are also like, man, he's gonna win some like girl power awards for that. But but I also really liked that I didn't have to get too technical. I could just, you know, I could just be like, no, here's the story, here's the mystery, here's what I discovered, and you guys build it. I mean, I know how. It's fine, but you guys do it.
I love that. And actually, in the last episode, we were talking a little bit about how Jason was talking specifically about how he didn't really know who he was going to cast in these roles. So he just wrote strong characters, which I think is fantastic. And I think that's like the best way to approach. Well, I mean, if you have a particular person in mind for a role, okay, you know, you know how they speak, you know how they're going to be reacting to certain things or how they might react to certain things. So you can tailor things to them. But I think that's a good thing to not fall into the trap of being like, oh, it's a female character, I'm going to write them this way. Or, oh, it's a male character, I'm going to write them this way. No, just write a strong character.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Any thoughts on that, Jason? That's a beautiful point, Jennifer.
Yeah, I mean, I want all of my characters to feel genuine, to feel real, like somebody you might interact with. Now, whether that's a pleasant interaction or otherwise, I want it to feel authentic. Now, this episode, this was really the last of I'm just going to write some roles, and then anybody who wants one, just raise your hand and you can have it. So one thing I would say though is post, I guess post casting, there were some slight rewrites once I knew the person that who was going to be playing this role, and knowing what their strengths are. And I did have some, yeah, there are a couple of, other than Frankie say relax, there were a couple of lines that I had Jen redo, or that I just changed the wording on something a little bit, but just in a way that I thought was a lot truer to the character. Um, but and just as a footnote, and you can take this however you like, there are some like really, really badass women coming up in the later episodes. So if that is something that you're a fan of and that you like, it's definitely there. And you're gonna like it.
Yeah, I was
I'm
telling.
excited for people to meet the characters coming up.
Me too.
Yeah, we got some really cool characters. And I actually, I have one more conspiracy theory thought here, Jason. The two teenage boys from episode 1, I think they're the same characters in episode 2. And it just so happens that when women are around them, they disappear into alternate wherever they go. So maybe it's them. Maybe they're the focus for this whatever it is that's happening.
That is definitely a theory, Rob. I will confirm that right now. That is a theory.
Why are the women disappearing? Like, why?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why indeed?
There might be reasons.
Maybe.
Another little detail I loved in this episode was when Jen says, "Oh, here's a burger that you have to construct yourself." Like every time I go out to do, like, I grab McDonald's, I grab In-N-Out, whatever it is, and I get home and I'm just like, oh yeah, the whole thing fell apart in the bag again.
I had no
imagine
idea.
That's what you meant.
Yeah, that was the thing. I had no idea. I was like, it's like Subway or like when you get the to-goes like at Red Robin, and they're like, here's the container of tomatoes and here's the tomato of onions. And I don't know if you just like order a burger from them if you get a whole burger, but like when you do like a whole party pack. So I didn't really know, but I envisioned like I got a party pack.
Well, would you like to know?
I would like to know.
All right, so this is a 1980s deep cut here, but I don't remember what what the stretch was, but it was right in the mid 80s, so like 85 to 87, something like that, maybe. McDonald's had this sandwich called the McDLT, and it
Yes.
came
Ah.
in, yeah. So you
I
had to
remember.
actually take the top off, and you had to take the top of the burger with the vegetables and put it together yourself.
Whoa.
That
And
is a deep cut.
that's a very
Yes.
deep cut.
And now you
And that
know how old we are.
Hey, McDonald's, bring back the McDLT back.
No, please
Right?
don't.
I mean, they brought back the boo buckets.
Exactly.
I mean, maybe.
They're all into vintage.
And the McRib. I know, right? I know, it's disgusting.
And the
They brought it
Monopoly
back.
game.
I
Yeah,
like
the
the Monopoly
Monopoly.
game.
Mhm.
Sorry, this is off topic. But anyway.
And now it's in the app. Now you can do it in the app. Anyway, sorry.
Jeez.
And we're going to stay a little bit off topic for just a second. Did y'all know In-N-Out will sell you the individual components? If you wanted to buy a hamburger or a party pack, like you were saying, Jen, and take it home to serve later in the day.
No,
Yeah.
because Floridians
Smart.
are not allowed to have In-N-Out.
Right, because I'm not,
Because Florida man.
has Five Guys. That's all I'll say.
In-N-Out bought a warehouse up here.
I was
in
gonna
the
say,
Portland area.
yeah,
Mhm.
they're leaving California. Aren't they
Yeah.
going to Texas?
They've already got one in Texas, I
Yeah,
think.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And
Yep, and they
Colorado?
just bought a huge warehouse out in Gresham, Oregon.
Expanding.
Mhm.
One day, you will have the gloriousness of In-N-Out in Florida.
Well, I've already had it. When I
One
visited
day.
California 3 years ago, I went one night. I went.
One and done, you're good.
It was all right.
Dude, you got to get the chopped chilies on the burger. You got to get both grilled and raw onions, and you got to get well done fries.
Animal
Well,
style.
Jason,
Animal style's
You-
too wet.
you've got the In-N-Out down in Grants Pass, yeah?
Well, yeah, it's about a 40-minute drive. It's not far away.
We're so far off topic right now. It's ridiculous.
Sorry. this is what our normal meetings.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
happens.
This
Yeah,
is
we're like,
what
we got
This
serious
is-
business to talk about. Oh, well.
Yeah, this
But
is
how do
this
you
is
like your
hour
In-N-Out?
one of recording an episode right here.
Pretty much. Well, I've run out of things to talk about with episode 2. Anybody else have anything that they want to bring up about it? I know Jason and I were actually talking earlier just about Static Shift in general, and I literally cannot stop listening to it. I go back to episode, I'm like, okay, cool, we're going to do a podcast on Resonant Frequency this week on episode 2, so I've got to listen to episode 2. But episode 1's only 9 minutes. I could listen to that one first, and then I listened to both of them, and then I'm like, episode 3 is so good, I want to listen to that one now, and then by the time I'm done, it's like, an hour and a half later, I've listened to all of the episodes that we have currently finished, and I'm just like, damn, that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
My husband keeps pulling up his phone. He'll randomly have something come up in his feed, and it's either you, Rob, talking about the show, or it's a clip somewhere, and he just puts it on speakerphone, blasts it in the house. I'm like, yeah, I know.
By
I'm
the way,
aware.
for anybody who's listening, I'm so sorry about the media blitz. I know that I'm probably spamming the hell out of you, but you know how it goes. We got a thing that we're super proud of, and I think we're just trying to get it out there. So that'll
I have reshared somebody's reshare of a reshare.
I love it.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
been
I love it.
reshared.
And I would
And we're
say,
doing really well.
if you aren't sure if this is your vibe, if you like Stranger Things, if you like the Twilight Zone, I'm trying to
Tales from the Crypt
Yeah.
from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unsolved
anything,
mysteries.
right, anything. It's perfect for October. So this will get you in the holiday season.
Spooky
And that was
feels.
actually that was a major reason that we kind of on the previous episode, we talked about how this all kind of came together in the past 2 months, and it literally it being Halloween was the main reason. I was like, we got to get this out on October, we got to get it out here, and everything just kind of fell into place. It was beautiful. Everybody did what they're good at to get everything set up. We were gonna launch on October 1st, and I was like, you know what? We're articulate. It would be really cool if we launched on the 8th, and then we could do it this way so that that episode still comes out on the 29th. And yeah, everything has been going really well. So I'm very, very excited, very proud of our group for what we've been able to put together. And I don't want to say that everything, like when I say everything came together in 2 months, I don't mean that we got all of this produced in 2 months. This is like over a year in production. However, we didn't really have a deadline set, so we were just kind of like, oh, let's try this, oh, let's try that. There was no urgency.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, Halloween would be perfect.
Yeah. I remember
This episode oops, sorry.
No, sorry.
I was just going to say, this episode we just recorded would be a perfect Halloween episode. Let's see if we can shoot for that and get it published. And then everything was just like, everything fell into place. So, Jennifer, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, I cut you off too. No, I remember last year when Jason had presented this and he was writing it, and I think maybe we had done our first episode, and we're like, wouldn't this be amazing for Halloween? But
it was already
production-
November.
It was already, yeah. So it was like just really cool that we were able to get it together in this amount of time.
Absolutely.
Did we discuss why it launches at 7:47?
We did not.
Did we want to? Or are we not going to? It's a secret.
Not yet.
Everything
Okay.
has a meaning.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, but not on this episode. What I do actually want to talk about just for a second here, Jason, I believe your plan is for season 1 to have, 10, 12 episodes?
10 episodes.
So 10 main storyline episodes. We have one guest episode already produced. That's the Halloween episode, which is the one that I'm super excited. I mean, all of them are amazing, but the Halloween episode is really good. So we're going to have 11 at this point. I'm curious. I believe the producer of the Halloween episode is also producing, or at least in the middle of working on a second kind of, we're calling it beat frequency. And if you know anything about radio waves and things like that, beat frequency is like a frequency in between the frequencies. So it's in the same universe as Static Shift, but it's not necessarily a main storyline story. Am I getting that right, Jason?
Yeah. Parallel stories taking place within the same universe.
Which I love. We may actually have 12 episodes for season 1 if we end up producing that second episode. Not that I'm putting any pressure on anybody who is producing episodes, but if they're listening to this podcast and that might be something to shoot for, just throwing it out there. We're going to have somewhere between 11 and 12 episodes for season 1. So I think that's a great way to get things started. Is that kind of your plan? I don't know if you've even thought this far ahead. Maybe you have. You are the maestro, so you probably have. Is that your plan for seasons moving forward, like 10-ish episodes a season?
Yeah, right now, pardon me, right now the plan is for 3 seasons and 10 episodes per season. Of course, that's always subject to change. You know, who knows, maybe season 3 will end up needing to be 11 or 12 episodes because I'll have too much content to get through, or if the episodes start stretching into 70 minutes long each or something like that, that might be time to reevaluate. But that is the rough goal right now, is a 3-season arc and wrap it all up, and just nice, neat 10 episodes per.
And then after season 3 is when we run the Kickstarter for the Static Shift movie, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe animated feature, so we all can still voice act it.
100%. I mean, we all have faces for camera. We could absolutely act this. Come on. We could do this.
I get super nervous in front of people.
You're doing fine on the podcast, Tiffany. Oh,
No,
I
I
just
know
ruined her
you.
podcast career. I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
I know you guys. It's
Yes.
fine.
But can
I
you
don't
guys?
have people staring at me.
But
Fair
can
enough.
you guys play teenagers still?
Yes, all I need to do is shave. And then you got to do a real quick take because 15 minutes later my face looks like this again. Yeah, facial hair grows very fast. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about with episode 2 or what we've seen with Static Shift up to this point? Any other teasers that anybody wants to throw out there? All right.
I will say that, kind of alluding to what Jen was saying earlier, I think episode 3 is really where you start to kind of introduce the mythology of Static Shift. It's a little bit like I really like the structure of the X-Files. I was a huge X-Files fan back in the day. And you had the standalone episodes, which was just usually sort of a monster of the week sort of a thing, but then you also had mythology episodes. And they existed. Right, yeah, the Smoking Man and Mulder's sister and the whole thing. Um, so that I guess for practical purposes, um, once I figured out um, that this was going to be one large story, I sort of relegated episodes 1 and 2 to more standalone episodes, but there are definitely connections to people and events in episodes 1 and 2 to the rest of the series. So we haven't just vacated those events by a long shot.
They
I
still
kn-
matter.
I knew that Tiffany's
Absolutely
character
do.
is the character I was thinking of in the future episodes. I knew it. I knew it. I'm kidding.
I
I'm
wouldn't
kidding.
read into it.
No, I'm not. But I love theory crafting. I think that's it. I mean, and I'm sure Jason, when I'm coming up with these random things, you're like, that's not where I'm going with it, but or maybe it is. I don't know. You've got a great poker face. But I'm sure if it's something that you weren't thinking about, you're like, that's a very interesting way to kind of think about it, at least.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And that is, I think, one of the things that I love so much about stories that really, as Aaron was alluding to earlier, that really reward paying attention.
Yeah.
Um, I think about in the world of TV, like Breaking Bad. Um, the and that's just for me, that's an absolute masterclass in storytelling. The little hidden allusions to things and the way everything just fits seamlessly together is I just kind of have to sit back and stare off into the distance and ponder it sometimes because it's so well done and it's so effective. Um, so when I'm telling this story, it is kind of important to me um, to make it something that it's rich enough and deep enough where if you are really paying attention, if you are really thinking about this, like you're going to find interesting and crazy and weird stuff, and it's going to make you ask questions and it's going to make you wonder. Um, because this is much more Twilight Zone or Hitchcock in execution than it is, I don't know, Michael Bay or something. This is really, again, I have to go back to it's a motion picture for your mind, and the more you can sort of sort of immerse yourself in that world, the more you're going to get from it. And I feel like it's my job to make it easy for you to immerse yourself into the world. I want to clear the path so you can just get right in there and settle in and experience it.
I actually do have one final question, I think, for this podcast. Anybody else is welcome to jump in with more questions if anything comes up. But the episode names. Blackwood Manor for episode 1, self-explanatory. That's where we go into things happen, question mark, profit, right? Number station. That's not really explained in this episode. Does that title have a meaning, or?
Well, it's not explicitly explained, but basically what they're talking about are number stations or some variation thereof, which are these shortwave stations that you can tune into. In fact, online, you can go in and you can just scroll through like the entire shortwave band and listen in, and you will hear some crazy things. So I think I wanted to do something with, because I've always been fascinated by these number stations. And so I did a little digging and a little bit of research, and I knew I wanted to call the episode. I think so. The name came before the episode.
Gotcha.
And then I thought, okay, well, what about a numbers station? What's interesting about it? How does it fit into this world? How does it affect the people who are in the episode? And so I start asking those kind of questions, and then out comes the story.
Fantastic. And I think it's a really cool story. I really love, like I said, I've been listening to this thing over and over again, the whole amount of what we have done. And I think it really, really goes together well. It's fantastic. So thanks for including us as part of your fever dream, Jason. I love it. All right.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you all have stuck around this far. So let's see how far we
100%.
can take it.
Does anybody else have anything that they want to say about episode 2? Maybe do a throwback to episode 1. I would hesitate to say a little bit of a teaser for episode 3 if anybody has anything they want to bring up. If not, we can call this podcast a podcast, and we're done.
Awesome.
All right, everybody.
Stay tuned for episode 3.
I love it. I love it. Coming out next Wednesday. Our release schedule is Wednesdays, and then we're going to try and get these out, I think, on Saturdays after the episode. That's not a guarantee. And you'll notice that these are on 2 different podcast streams. We have our Articulate Studios podcast, which is going to be not just Static Shift stuff. Eventually we'll have other things on this channel, behind the scenes, just cool ideas that we do, maybe some really cool reads from any of our script practices, just stuff that's fun that we want to put up here. And then Static Shift will be on its own channel just to keep it kind of self-contained so that you know what you're getting when you go there. If you guys have
I
any...
would like to hear if anybody has any suggestions on what they want to hear. Sorry, I totally cut you off and you were going there. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, if you want to email us questions about anything that we're doing, I was not going to say suggestions, so I'm glad you brought that up. If you have any suggestions about what you want to hear or what you want to see us do, absolutely email us. You can email contact@articulate.studio. That's our main email address. If you have anything that's Static Shift specific that you want to ask, you can send it to staticshift@articulate.studio. That's articulate with the number 8, so not,
I want to hear
not spelled out.
I want to hear people's conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
100%. Send in your conspiracy theories. We would be more than happy to give dramatic readings of them on this podcast, I think. Or
there
at least,
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you're right, we can then change the story.
We will shift it.
100%. And then also let us know, if you guys would even be open to doing something like signing up for a Patreon for exclusive content. We haven't really thought that far ahead, but if you guys are interested in it, we're happy to start putting some more stuff together for you. So just let us know. Again, contact@articulate.studio. You can also visit articulate.studio as a website. Right now, there's one page, and it's very sad, and I'm working on that, but it'll take a little bit to get that up. I only have limited time with everything that I am juggling, but we'll get that squared away. Yeah, anything else? If not, thank you, Aaron and Jennifer and Tiffany and Jason. This has been the Resonant Frequency podcast and the after Static Shift After Hours? Static Shift After Dark. Wait.
Not yet.
No, that's
Not
the
yet.
Patreon content.
This is-
Patreon, yeah.
This is Static Shift After Daybreak, because the shadows are where the frequencies come out.
Well,
All right,
there you go.
everybody. Have a great night. Thanks for joining me, and we'll talk to you
Bye.
on the next episode.